It's only been a week and we are already reeling from the season 4 finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it was wrapping up one of the best, if not the best, arguably, season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But there was one thing that no matter whether you fell on the side of considering it a great finale or you consider it to be one of the more underwhelming ones, which is how I felt about it, one thing we can all kind of agree on: that ending was fucking weird. It was confusing, it was intriguing, it was mysterious, so it had all the right elements to provide a very effective cliffhanger that's going to keep people's interest all the way into season 5 when it does come around in the winter. Because one of the most devastating things that I learned recently is that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has not only been moved to the Friday night 9 p.m. time slot, which I don't care what network you're referring to, even if it's not Fox, that's always a very dangerous time for a TV show to be on, because that's when everybody's out and about doing their plans, and that's usually when shows are sent to die. So here's hoping that S.H.I.E.L.D. does not have the similar kind of fate. But also, it will not be returning until Inhumans wraps up its 8-episode season run. And that doesn't premiere on ABC until the end of September, which means we're going to have to wait until probably November, beginnings of December, to see season 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm trying my best not to think about it because it hurts me every single time. So what can we do until then? Just speculate what that confusing cliffhanger ending meant for our heroes on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing in this video. Hopefully I can keep it short and straight to the point. But here I am to talk about what could happen in season 5, and for the most part you're probably going to hear some echoes of various other theories you've probably heard of from various other outlets, but there are some things to kind of shed some light upon that you may or may not have heard from other folks as well. And of course, if you have not seen the season 4 finale or just any of season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and also Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I will reference very lightly in this video, then please do not watch this video because spoilers are abound. Are you ready? Let's go. So at the end of the season 4 finale, we see Coulson and the team enjoying a nice, relaxing dinner after dealing with all the bullshit they had to deal with throughout all of season 4, from the Ghost Rider to the LMD switching and then to the nightmarish framework that they had to be implanted into. And now, having escaped all that turmoil, they can finally relax and actually enjoy each other's company without any kind of remorse, no grudges, nothing, no kind of conflict or confrontation between any of them. They can finally relax, enjoy a good cup of coffee, and I really hope that a vast majority of them were having pancakes at night, because nothing beats eating breakfast at night. Outside of breakfast, eating breakfast outside of breakfast, that's always awesome. But then the whole thing comes to an end with some government agents interrupt their dinner, and they were expecting this. Even Coulson kind of makes a remark about, hey, how long did it take you guys? You guys are usually here by now. Nice theatrics with the lighting. Blah. Almost as if done by Doctor Strange himself, time just freezes because this one guy who's kind of kept in the shadows rather intentionally pulls out this little gadget that has a little green light, freezes the time around him, and this is how he's able to apprehend these folks. Next thing that we see is Coulson waking up in some kind of bunker, but when he opens the window, he's up in space, surrounded by what seems to be an asteroid belt. What is a little curious about the scene is that he doesn't seem to be in shock. In fact, he even says it himself, enough stargazing or enough sightseeing, whatever, it's time to get back to work. So it's almost like he's nonchalant about the entire situation, which leads me to believe that this is a time jump. This is just a small little preview of where we're going to see our heroes in season 5, and kind of giving us a little wink that maybe we should get used to this setting. What exactly is going to be this setting? Well, everybody poured in some of the comments in the review that I posted. I gather information while at the same time looking certain things up on the good old Wikipedia, and I've come to realize that this could be the inclusion of the secret organization called S.W.O.R.D. S.W.O.R.D is known as the Sentient World Observation and Response Department. I'm looking at my iPod, I'm sorry. I knew I was going to forget at least one word, and I had to look at my iPod to look at the abbreviation. I still can't remember 100% what S.H.I.E.L.D means, so I'm sorry. S.W.O.R.D is pretty much the S.H.I.E.L.D, complete with periods and everything, for intergalactic oversight. So you got S.H.I.E.L.D dealing with internal threats amongst the world, especially within the United States, and what could pose a threat right there that's kind of otherworldly or something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, whether it be like an Asgardian god like Thor, or even somebody that was genetically or scientifically created like the Incredible Hulk. They deal with that kind of stuff. S.W.O.R.D kind of in the same type of basis, except they deal with everything in outer space. Now, the origin behind this is actually one of the very interesting things that could kind of create a divide as to whether or not people believe that the organization S.W.O.R.D is going to be implemented into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and our heroes are going to be joining this division in the show, because this was created by Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon obviously created Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and he's a big mainstay within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, along with his inclusion of by being a director for the first 2 Avenger movies. So it only makes sense that him, along with I think fellow brother and also co-writer, co-creator of the show, Jed Whedon, they were going to implement the show. So it only makes sense. It's kind of his property, so it wouldn't be that much of a stretch for them to include S.W.O.R.D into the show and make it part of the whole season 5 arc. The only little caveat that can keep that from happening is that this was introduced in the astonishing X-Men arc that Joss Whedon created, and there you go. X-Men arc, and the last time I checked, unfortunately, the X-Men rights are still part of Fox's deal along with Fantastic Four. Not only that, but you also got a couple of members that will definitely not make any kind of appearance in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. no matter how much they try to implement S.W.O.R.D into it, whether it be with some name changes or some abbreviations. 2 characters, however, that are very vital to the team, but I know we're not going to be seeing them, is none other than Beast, which is one of the mainstay X-Men that Fox still has the rights to, and then we got Spider-Woman, who's also being kind of kept away from the clutches of Marvel by Sony, because that's still kind of roped in within the whole Spider-Man universe, so obviously they still got the rights to that. So they're probably going to be doing some switching and some name changing here and there to kind of make sure that they got a team that they can work with rights-wise so they don't get sued. But the reason for why I believe that maybe S.W.O.R.D still has a chance to make some kind of introduction into the MCU and into the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. specifically is because not every single thing that has to do with X-Men is necessarily belonged to, or doesn't necessarily belong to Fox, because here is a little minor spoiler for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. If you guys remember seeing that movie, you'll notice that during Stan Lee's cameo, he's talking to the Watchers, those big aliens with the big eyes and the white the big heads and the white eyes, and they look all big like that, like they're just checking things out. They're actually part of the X-Men universe, not only within the X-Men universe, but also within the cosmic universe that revolves around Silver Surfer. And if it involves the Silver Surfer, then it involves the Fantastic Four. Then what the hell are they doing in the Marvel movie, a Marvel Studios movie like Guardians of the Galaxy? So that leads me to believe that either one of 2 possibilities. A, they were kind of like this bundle that Marvel somehow managed to grab some years back, and they just never really paid that much attention to it, and neither did Fox, so they were kind of able to like sneak it away and be like, can we do something with them? Not just yet. And now they're figuring out ways to kind of incorporate them into there, so to kind of branch out the lore. Or maybe, just maybe, there's a behind-the-scenes deal currently happening right now between Fox and Marvel that's kind of working out certain things so that they can exchange characters or even share characters the same way that Sony and Marvel are doing right now with Spider-Man. There's no absolute way of telling, because from what I can tell, nobody has a clear answer on that. So your guess is as good as mine. All right, so now I got to bring over the spectacles because some of this information I did not memorize, so I'm going to have to jump over to the good old Wikipedia on my iPod here to kind of tell you guys what is going on with S.W.O.R.D and why it is that it's a little bit more believable that this is going to be the setting for Season 5. First of all, they're in a space station, and S.W.O.R.D is in fact stationed on a space station. That's their main base, called the Peak, and this Peak revolves around, I believe, an asteroid field that's kind of within certain segments of the solar system, and it would only make sense for them to kind of be there so that they can kind of keep an eye out on interplanetary threats. But another interesting thing that points out fellow YouTube user and watcher, still only 35 cents, by the way, I like your username there. He says, I think that our agents were abducted at the end for the main purpose of watching for the approach of Thanos towards Earth. Coulson looks out upon the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter inside their guard station, which could be the Peak. This way, Season 5 would dovetail... Dude, I don't know what you said right there. Please post in the comment what you were trying to say. Dovetail nicely into next May's release of Avengers Infinity War. That's a really, really good point there, my man, because this season should start, like I said, around November, December-ish now that we got Inhumans to kind of get through. So if they're going for a 22-episode season, which they normally do, and from what I hear, this is actually going to be a 22-episode run without breaks. So we're not going to be dealing with that 3-period break that we dealt with the 3 pods of season 4, not even the mid-winter break that they usually have. We're gonna go through 22 episodes right there. Let me look at my calendar here and see exactly where that falls when Avengers Infinity War actually comes around. I believe at the beginning of May. So let's see how that lines up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay, so after counting it, it actually comes up just a little bit short. April 17th, maybe April 24th. I don't know. There might be a week where they don't show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because something comes on on ABC Network that needs to be broadcasted or something like that. Something to have to do with Trump. I don't know what the fuck. But I believe that around April 17th or April 24th is when we'll be seeing the season finale for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. should they go after that model where they don't have any breaks whatsoever. So that means that maybe season 5 can finish off with their detection of Thanos, and that's kind of lead in and tie very nicely over to Avengers Infinity War, and that'd be actually rather cool. And again, it would make sense to incorporate S.W.O.R.D within this so that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has their own thing going, and they kind of have their part to play within this big war without ever kind of interfering, because obviously the producers have often said that they're trying their best not to mix and match Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or even some of the Netflix shows or with the movies, because they feel like 2 different type of tonal entities. So this would be a cool way to not have that happen, but at the same time not make it feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is like that bastard son that you just want to ignore and be like, no, that never happened. It was a one-night stand. Part of the whole, family there. This could be a way to kind of give them their due without at the same time compromising the tones or the cinematic aesthetics, and at the same time still make everything feel connected. Plus, you'll be missing out a great opportunity at including some of these characters, because one of the lead characters in S.W.O.R.D is this lady named Abigail something. What's her name? Abigail Brand, Special Agent Abigail Brand. And from what I can tell, she's one of the most sarcastic beings in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I want to see that brought to screen, because I feel like she could be a perfect foil for Coulson, because Coulson is a sarcastic motherfucker himself as well, and I would love to see those two on screen share banter back and forth. And maybe, I know that maybe that could cause some kind of friction between May and Coulson, but still, them two kind of heading their teams and seeing the two of them kind of clash with one another while at the same time kind of go for that common cause would be just the right fire that season 5 could use. There's many other ways to kind of break this down, but I just don't want to get into it. I know that I can go on for maybe another 20 minutes, but I just wanted to touch upon the basic things that can make up for a very good and enthralling and spectacular season 5 that has a change of setting that is not only warranted but also a very cool little connection to the main Marvel Cinematic Universe that we see in the theaters. And S.H.I.E.L.D. can maybe go the distance and can do some really cool things, especially with the inclusion of S.W.O.R.D, should they go the extra mile to do so. Here's to hoping that does it, because this is a show that I love to see, and considering that it's getting a 5th season, it's a milestone in and of itself, and I'm hoping that the 5th season, should it be its last, because usually this is around where certain shows kind of get canceled, or at least ended, where the network says, hey, we can't keep going, but we're going to let you finish off the season. Let's hope that this is actually one of the best ones, if not the best one. So please let me know what your guys' opinions, speculations, and thoughts are going into season 5 after dealing with that very strange cliffhanger that we had there at the end of season 4, at the end of the finale. What do you think is actually going to be implemented within season 5? Obviously we're going to space, but is this a confirmation that we're going to be dealing with S.W.O.R.D? Do you think those characters are going to be included in the show? Do you think they're going to be doing some switcheroos because of licensing problems? Or do you think that this is all a humongous stretch and they're probably going to do something completely different and new? And are you much more open to that? Does that make it for a better scenario than what we're dealing with here in terms of theories and hypotheses and speculations? Please give me your feedback in the comments below. Make sure you like and share this video to show your support, and of course show your support to the channel by hitting the subscribe button down below, and make sure to follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Dark Spider David. I'm David, part of the Dark Spider David, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.